I'm from the Binghamton area and was growing up there in the 80s, a real prosperous time. In the 90s when I was in college, I was fortunate to get a summer job in IBM at manufacturing. But I saw the hardships, the recession hit, people were losing their jobs. My brother lost his job at General Electric and he actually moved down to North Carolina. Unfortunately, that story is not the exception in this part of New York State, but the norm. We all have family and friends who would like to be in this state but can't because of the economic situation, and we've struggled these past few years. I was fortunate after college to work for 4 years for a congressman from New Jersey, Christopher Smith. I was a senior level aide. I handled his foreign affairs portfolio. He was the vice chairman of the International Relations Committee. These were the years after the 9/11 terror attacks. I worked on 4 bills that were signed into law. They were all done on a bipartisan basis, and I know how to get things done. I also saw what was wrong with Washington, and it's been interesting being back here the last few years, studying American history, teaching it to my students, reflecting on where we're at this critical point in American history, and seeing the challenges we have in Washington. We decided to make this race because we believe we need new faces, we need change in Washington, but we also need people who can get down there and make an impact. And I know from my experiences down there, I can make an impact from day one. I agree with the congressman and some of the challenges that we're facing. This is a huge financial mess we're in. I said I would have voted against the bailout. I thought it was too much money. It was unprecedented in terms of government involvement. Even during the Great Depression, we didn't see a bailout of this magnitude. But I think we need to be looking, especially in this next Congress, what are some of the long-term changes we need to make? And I think we need to make some sweeping changes. This bailout is now raising the national debt to almost $10 trillion, and I think that's having a very negative drag on our economy. When we get to 2017, Social Security is going to start running deficits, and we're going to have some tough decisions to be made. One of my signature proposals that I'd like to bring forth from day one, if I'm elected, is to reinstate something from the 1980s that I think was very positive, but it never got enacted. That was the Grace Commission. It was a bipartisan commission looking at government waste and inefficiencies and making recommendations. How can we improve on this? How can we be more effective in government? We are looking at $3 trillion in spending a year, and I say this as a Republican who worked for a Republican member of Congress. I'm ashamed of my own party. I think when Republicans got in after the contract with America settled down, they played the same games that other politicians on the other side of the aisle played to pay off essentially the special interests, the lobbyists, the corporate interests, and we've seen spending balloon. The Grace Commission found that 1/3 of federal spending was wasteful and inefficient, and it made recommendations for savings. Now imagine if we could do that again today. The only mechanism when I was down there that I saw effective for trying to curtail out-of-control spending was the Brat Commission, designated at military bases. How do you close a military base? Well, you can't, because the congressmen and senators are going to get their friends on the Hill to keep it open. They've got to fight for their turf. That's their job. But was it for the good of the whole country to have 450 military bases? No. We had duplicate functions. We saved. We got it down to 375 bases. I think if we have those savings from the Grace Commission and enactment of it, we could pay down the debt. We could get more resources back here to New York State in terms of taxpayers' savings. I'd like to serve on the Government Reform Committee. I think that would be an effective committee for investigating some of these issues and pushing for this big picture issue. I'd also like to serve on the Small Business Committee. If you look at the jobs that we have here, we went in the Binghamton area from 25,000 IBM jobs to under 1,000. Hudson Valley, I know there's similar statistics. I'd like to be a champion for small businesses, and I think we need to look at doing something radical with a tax structure that empowers small businesses, lifts the entrepreneurial spirit. I'm going to put forward legislation that will say, look, small businesses, based on their size, can keep a portion of their revenue tax-free if they pledge to put those profits into hiring new workers, worker health care, and expanding their businesses. Small businesses are the backbone of a lot of these towns up here, and those are some of the issues I'd like to focus on.